Hello everybody, welcome back to another SAFC Fan TV. And yes, Jacob has just appeared, just tuned in at exactly the right moment in time. Before we get started, I'm going to ask Jacob if he can look at the chat, and if it's possible he can watch the chat while I do this, and then he can shout out a few comments on there. But before we get started, on the chat at this moment in time, there is Jimmy, evening all, welcome back to SAFC Fan TV. Peter Salkeed, evening all, and a Merry Christmas, decent point yesterday. We had Raw Productions, evening all, Conrad Tank, and on the live stream tonight we have Wayne. How are you doing?
Hi Terry, not too bad, thank you very much. How's you?
Really, champion. Are you looking forward to Christmas?
I am. Still got a bit run about to do, but hope it falls into place next.
You're not
week.
leaving things to the last minute, are you?
Well, I do it every year.
Aye.
Tradition.
I bet Jack Shields all sorted for Christmas. Are you all right, Jack?
I've got a few bits and bobs, but I get a little bit of help from my family to buy for the family members. So I must admit, I do get a little bit of support with my Christmas presents.
Well looked after, eh?
That's it, aye.
Are you fitting well?
I'm doing well, yeah, doing well. I've just been a decent day with the World Cup, and now we're looking forward to talking about Sunderland and what went on yesterday. Plenty to talk about.
Brilliant. And also on the chat is Jacob. Jacob, just finished work?
I've just come back from a mate's birthday gathering. We've just watched probably the greatest World Cup final of all time. Hats off to Lionel Messi, probably the greatest player of all time. Has won pretty much everything in the game now. The last kick off of this, but yeah, busy weekend. Half day booked off work tomorrow to finish the rest of my Christmas shopping. So, and I'm looking forward. It's been a long time. Looking forward to being back on here talking about SAFC.
Are you half cut? Are you all right?
Is you on about my camera?
No, I said you're half cut. Have you had a few beers? Are you drunk?
No, I'm just really tired, mate.
So no drinking at the party, eh?
No, I was coming towards. I arrived at the end, like just at the start of extra time. I had to watch the 90 minutes on my phone coming back from Sheffield. So
Jacob's a good lad. I couldn't have done that. Like, I'd be straight on the pints anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the chat. So before we get started with yesterday's game, it's been a while since we've been on here, so we had a few things to talk about. We had a national break for the World Cup, and the first game back was against Millwall at home. Went back to flat back four. We haven't had Stewart for a while. I think Sims came back. So Wayne, what was your thought on the Millwall game? Quick rundown on that, please.
Well, it was the first half was a bit of a nothing game on it, really, pretty much same yesterday. But then second half we kind of got our act together, and I scored the 3 goals. A welcome win at home at the time. It's just a shame we haven't kind of kicked on from there, really.
Jack?
Yeah, the first half, not much happened. If I seem to remember rightly, that the referee was very trigger happy with his whistle, wasn't he? He seemed to stop the game a lot, and they were a big physical team that sort of fouled us every time we tried to get in rhythm of the game. But second half, we stepped it up. We started to create chances for fun and got the goals. I thought 3-0 flattered us a little bit. I didn't think it was really a 3-0 game, but I thought we were definitely the better team second half. We were the only team looking to win the game. And as has been said, it was a good home win because we haven't won many at home this season. So it was a welcome home win.
Were you actually surprised at that result at the time?
I was a little bit, yeah, because I expected a tight game. Millwall are thereabouts with us in the league. I think round about where we are, maybe they're just below us or just above us at the time. So I was expecting a tight game. And I did think, like I say, I thought 3-0 flattered us slightly, but it just showed at the time that the quality that we do have in the final third. And on the day, we took our chances and came away with a very good win. We definitely deserved it. But yeah, I wasn't expecting it being such a comfortable win in terms of the scoreline.
I think they were actually in 6th place, 4 points above us at the time, Jacob. They were having a good run of form, to be fair. I mean, Jack. So, Jacob, what was your thoughts on the Millwall game?
Difficult. Like what Jack said, I thought 3-0 was a bit of a flattering scoreline the first 45 minutes. It took us a while to get our momentum going. I think there was a lot of tired legs. I think the first game back in 3 weeks, even though they'd had sort of a mid warm-up game whilst out in training in Dubai. But yeah, it took us a while to get going. Millwall had the better of the chances the first 45. I think second half we got our more creative players on the ball, and Millwall, I think we picked them off at the right time. Got those 2 early goals, Pritchard and also Ahmad Diallo as well. And I think we look pretty much in cruise control. And it's the type of performance where you're happy to just come out with all 3. at the end of the day, Millwall did make it tough for us, and they did, try and beat us in terms of like using a lot of physicality and, sucking us into their game plan. And the first 45 minutes, it worked for them. But I think second half, we made a few tweaks. I think Mowbray changed the system. And I think we just about edged it on the day.
And then we moved on to the West Brom game. I mean, after that game, you're kind of expecting the 3 points against West Brom at home. You wanted to kick on, like we said before, after the World Cup. We've had a bit of a break, come back, got a good win against Millwall. Then we welcomed West Brom to the fold, up to the team, up to the Stadium of Light. Jacob, did you watch the match?
Yeah. Obviously, difficult one to take that one, Terry. Obviously, first half, we were great. Our passing and movement was really sick. We were creating chances. We were getting into good areas, and then second half, our energy levels just dropped off. We weren't the biggest problem we had in that game. We weren't stopping crosses coming into the box enough, and West Brom were just constantly peppering balls in the right area of the box, and their winning goal came from that. And we just had ourselves. I know people can. Have a go at Patterson for maybe not putting himself about for the second one, but he made a brilliant save before, and Patterson's been one of our key men this season. So, it is hard to criticise Patterson over that. It was a mistake, but, he's the type of lad that will learn from it. And it's just disappointing. It was a huge opportunity missed. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we could have got into the playoffs if we won that game on Monday. And I think Mowbray would have been really disappointed the way how the game shifted. But then again, it was a West Brom team on form. They've just changed their manager. Carlos Carvajal has gone in there, and I think they've got 5 wins on the spin now. They've done really well. So, credit's where it's due, but disappointing one to take.
Yeah, we'll correct you when you're wrong. I think we could have moved into 7th place that day, 1 point behind Preston. Because I know somebody who supports Preston and they said, mind the gap. So we were 4 points behind at the time. Jack, why are we just a 1:45-minute team at this moment in time? That was the coldest night of my life, I would think, watching a Sunderland game on Monday night. And the second half was absolutely abysmal.
Firstly, on the temperature, yes, it was very, very cold. It was one of the coldest games I've been to. Just absolutely freezing. So I know a few people that had season tickets that kind of sacked it off and just decided to watch on the telly, which I wouldn't have blamed because it was bitter cold. So firstly, I agree with you on that one. I don't know, because it's strange. First half was everything you'd want from a Sunderland team. We got the ball down. We played at a tempo. We got down the wings. That's what I feel when we're at the best, when we're getting down the sides and we're getting the kind of the 2 wide men into play. We got the goal from the penalty, and everything was going all okay. And I think second half, you have to give credit to the West Brom manager. He changed their setup, didn't he? I think they went straight at the back with the wing backs, pushed the wing backs forward, and really we didn't seem to be able to get out. We just couldn't get out. They created pressure. They got the goal, got the equaliser. A little bit critical of Tony Mowbray. I thought he could have changed it earlier, could have brought the subs on a little bit earlier. You could see that the momentum had changed in the game. I felt that West Brom were on top for large chunks of the second half, and at 1-1. We were the home team. We should have, maybe changed it a little bit earlier to get, the fresher players on to, change the tactics. But, he waited, and then they got the goal. I think that the goal was down our side. I thought the ball went out, to be fair, before the lad crossed it in, and that was the fourth official was right on the touchline. How we didn't see that, I don't know. So you could say that goal doesn't stand. We get a 1-1 draw, which wouldn't have been too bad of a result. But yeah, they've changed the manager recently, as Jacob touched on. They look like they're a completely different team now that Steve Bruce has gone. I don't think they're going to be a team that are anywhere down the bottom half of the league. I think they're probably going to be mid-table and pushing up for the playoffs. But just a bit disappointing when you're 1-0 up. They changed in the second half. They seemed to be able to, get a grip of the game, and we didn't really have much of a response, which was a little bit frustrating because, when you've got a chance like that to get 3 points when you're 1-0 up at home, should be you that's in the ascendancy. And I felt like West Brom really dominated, which is a little bit disappointing. I don't know why we're a 45-minute though team, Terry. It is a bit of a worry though, because you can't always turn it off and on. Sometimes you do need the full 90-minute performance to get a win at this level. So yeah, it's a little bit of a concern.
People are saying it's a lack of experience in the team, but we do have Gooch has been around the block a while. We've got Danny Bart being around the block a while. We've got Evans in midfield. He's the same. So we do have some experience in there, but we do have a lot of youthful players as well. And that's when you rely on the likes of Tony Mowbray to sort of change it around. When he's saying West Brom and up their game, it wasn't so much. I think I was very critical of the side second half on Monday night, but maybe you should give a lot more praise to West Brom for opening their game, pushing us back, because they won yesterday again. So obviously they were in a false position. They have a decent side. So we maybe should be more critical with Tony Mowbray for not sort of be reacting to whatever they did at half-time and sort of sat in his laurels a little bit. Wayne, what was your take on the game?
Aye, pretty much the same as what Jack and Jacob said. That the first half we were really good. But how many times has that happened this season where we've been the better team in the first half and yet again can't keep hold of a lead? Second, you could see what was going to happen second half. We were sitting deeper and deeper. They were getting on top, and I thought once they got the equaliser, I think even his substitutions, I wouldn't have brought Jack Clark on for me, because Jack Clark, when he came on, looked like he didn't want to be there, didn't want to be on, and I think that the first goal came from him trying to take somebody on in his own half and lost it. They broke away, but it was frustrating. Yes, we know they're in a false position, but just the way we're kind of crumbled again in the second half, not for the first time this season, is a worrying trait. And it seems to be keep on happening, and I don't know. It's frustrating and worrying.
Jacob, do you want to go to the chat a second for us?
Yeah, of course. Ian Wilkinson, hi boys, great game today. Proper football. Now we're talking Sunderland, oh dear. Comrade Tank, character building, cold, ... Ian Wilkinson, again, exactly the same as the Burnley game. Wingers didn't support fullbacks. Their manager made good decisions. Mowbray can't do that. And going back to Comrade Tank again, maybe Pritchard should have scored 2 in the first half against West Brom, and then it would have been a win. And obviously, our dear sweet editor, Comrade Lee, Jacob on the beers. Maybe not so much today, Comrade, considering the amount of beers I had in Sheffield last night seeing uni mates. And again, wish we could keep Diallo, but we'll never pay the same Man United paid.
Is there, what does Marion say there? Can I see a little bit of that?
Oh, there we go. Marion Trowers. Hello, Terry and your friends on Sunday Bunch. Nice to see you all back. Good point away, and next Boxing Day, 3 points. Happy, wealthy Christmas and New Year. Cheers, Marion.
Thank you very much, Jacob. If everybody out there is enjoying the live stream so far in the first 12 minutes, please give us a thumbs up. We much appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up. We try to get 100 if we can, but obviously with 59 people watching, I doubt that will happen tonight. So after the disappointment of West Bromwich Albion, we were hoping for a bounce back against Hull yesterday. And with no Stewart being on the team on Monday, apparently he wasn't fit enough to start, and they didn't want to risk him with loads of games coming thick and fast for the Christmas period. We're all hoping he was going to be on the bench tomorrow, or at least yesterday, or at least get a start. But he was on the bench. And Jacob, what was your thoughts on yesterday's match?
A tough one, but you know what, Terry? I would say, based on the way how the game panned out and we went down to 10 men for the final 25 minutes. I know people can argue where Hull were in the league compared to what we were. I still think it's a decent point away from home, considering obviously the game was swinging in Hull's favour to go on and win it after Embleton's red card. Also wishing him all the best of a speedy recovery, by the way. Apparently it is a suspected leg break, which is heartbreaking to see. But we took the lead through the run of play. I think Mowbray took a few gambles, made us more, allowed our creative players to take more risks in the final third. Brilliant pass from one of the substitutes, Roberts. Stewart, great to have him back. The thing is, with Ross Stewart, when he's playing, we can necessarily not be having the best of games, but he's always in the right area. And, he can make a big, big difference if we manage to keep him for the second half of the season. Took his goal well, but the equaliser, it was the same problem we had on Monday, mate. Not stopping crosses coming into the box. Lyndon Gooch, watching the highlights back with their goal, should have done so much better. I think it went down. Did it go down as an own goal in the end, or did they give it to the fella?
I think it was given it to the fellow, eh? Was it two? I forget his name now.
I don't know whether it was Sirkin. I think, was he on at that point? Could have done better to stop the cross from coming in. Gooch, I think, could have been tighter on his man. But listen, I'm still obviously happy with a point, the way how the game panned out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I thought again, first half, I didn't think we're clever first half, to be fair. People said, Tony was saying in his interview that we were sort of more the dominant team and that we had more possession and we did everything but the killer pass and getting into the final third. But I just thought we were pretty average, to be fair. I mean, Hull we're in the bottom 5 for home form this season, and Sunderland are in the top 4 for yesterday's game for away form. So we did
in the league as well.
Yeah, we definitely sort of a better away side than home side. So Wayne, what was your thoughts on yesterday's game? Just overall take on it?
I thought we were poor. You know, like the first half of the game was a bit of a nothing. You know, both looked poor, 2 poor teams together really. We didn't get our passing game going. You know, we kept giving the ball away. The midfield, you know, I went missing. I think apart from the one chance that Sims had when he blazed it wide when he ran through, we didn't create very much. And like what you've just been saying there, Tony Mowbray in his interview after the game said he thought we were the dominating team and controlling. I think he's watching a different game to me because I thought we were very, very poor. And second half, you know, wasn't really much better. You know, I mean, about the sending off, there was a lot of controversy about, you know, was it or wasn't it? But you know, I can see why he sent them off. You know, when it's live, it looks a nasty tackle, but you know, looking in slow motion, it probably wasn't. But you know, ref when he sees it once, he's made his mind up, sent them off. So unfortunate. But that's kind of when he brought Stewart on, we look at a different team. Even with 10 men, you know, he brings the ball down, he brings Pete into play, took his goal well. But overall, I thought we were poor. And I mean, more comments after the game when he said he didn't bring Serkin on when Danny Bat got injured because he didn't think Elise would make the full game. So, you know, if he's not fit, why didn't he play Serkin from the start? Just some of his decisions lately are kind of baffling. So,
well, not just that. Where was Bailey Wright? Anybody know where the hell Bailey Wright is? Is he not fit? I heard he come back from the World Cup and he's raring to go and he's chomping at the bit. Not even in the setup yesterday. So if Serkin's not 100% fit, Alessi's not 100% fit, Jack, what's your thoughts on Bailey Wright? Does Tony Mowbray not like him?
I don't know. I mean, I can understand him being given a little bit more time when he come back from the World Cup, but you know, I think he's been back a while now, wasn't he? So I'm not really sure why he wasn't even on the wasn't even on the bench, was he, Terry? Did you say there?
Not even on the bench.
Yeah, that seems a bit of a strange one. I'm not sure. Just going on to the overall game, though, I felt that first half was pretty poor from both teams, as is touched on. No quality at all. You know, lots of passes going astray. It was like no team getting possession regularly. It was a pretty poor first half. But second half, it would have been interesting to see how we would have got on with 11 men on the pitch, because I think we potentially could have stolen that. I think we could have nicked a 1-0 or a 2-0 there if we'd kept 11 men on the pitch. Unfortunately, we didn't. I can see why he has given a red, but I thought it was pretty harsh. I think he's only given it on the kind of the lad that went down's dramatic, you know, holding his face and things like that. And I think he's basically bought it from him and a bit of the crowd going up, and he's made a decision which I think was a bit harsh. Don't forget they got a penalty as well, which luckily for us to put wide, but you know, there's a few debates about that as well. So the two main 50-50 decisions both went against Sunderland yesterday, and I felt that not just the major decisions, the ref really did give them a lot of 50-50s. I thought it was a very home-orientated ref, do you know what I mean? One of those that just seems to give a lot of 50-50s to the home team. But even so, when Stewart come on, we did look a completely different team, because we were under the cosh before he come on, but his ability to hold the ball up is second to none. There's just nobody like him, certainly not in our team. You could even argue he's one of the best in the league at doing it, you know, aerially, physically dominant, you know, aerially winning headers and laying it off and getting us up the pitch, and obviously takes the goal fantastically well. And from there, you start to think, can we hang on? Unfortunately, we couldn't. It would have been a brilliant 3 points on the basis of play there. Pressure, you could probably say they deserved a point. But it would have been really interesting to see if we could have kept 11 men on, because I really don't think they were that. I don't think we played that well, but I still think if we'd had 11 men on the pitch, we probably would have got a win there in the second half.
So by your comments, Jacob, do you agree with me in saying the referee was a shithouse?
Yeah, I thought it was a very poor refereeing performance yesterday, to be honest. I can understand sort of what Wayne is saying from the angle he probably saw it at. You know, a couple of refs would have given that as a red, but when you see it from the main angle showing on the TV cameras, it was a pretty harsh decision. I think their player definitely made a meal of it, you know, watching it, to be honest. I think it was pretty soft, but I thought, you know, considering we were down to 10 men for the final 25 and the refereeing display, I thought we'd done well to adapt to that and shot, and then we took the lead in the game. But then again, just a lapse of concentration and we come away with a point, but it is what it is. But on a couple of occasions we've had, particularly away from home, we've had a lot of shocking refereeing performances we've had to deal with this season.
I actually thought it was a penalty in the 46th minute, but when you look back 2 or 3 times, apparently Ballard did get the ball. Is that correct, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, with that one, you can understand why the referee has given a decision like that. There has been the way how the foul was made. Watching the World Cup just gone, there was a couple of penalties like that was given, and yeah, obviously it was a blessing in disguise that the chap went on to miss the target. But yeah, another soft one when you do watch it back clearly. Obviously, Ballard's just about managed to get the ball, but that was more, I would say, from a referee's perspective. You can understand the way how the game is now. You see a lot of them given these days. We've just got to be more cautious on a defensive point of view to try and cut that out of our game.
Right, so back to the chat. You want to do any more chat there, Jacob?
Yes, Colin Major, hi lads. Do we think we should stick with Mowbray next season? Ian Wilkinson, agree. We report all over the pitch. Clark did nothing at all. I said on Terry's vlog, 2 in the middle have never clicked. And Ian Wilkinson, once again, sorry, but Embleton has that in him. I think he was on about his decision making today, and obviously Ian Wilkinson again. Terry, man, it was a pen. So obviously disagreeing with you, Terry, there. And Conrad Tank, we already read out before, so we're up to date.
No, actually, I said in my review last night, I thought it was a penalty. That's what my initial instinct was. I'm just basically going back what people have been saying, that if they've looked back and watched it over again, and that it wasn't a penalty, but I initially said it was a penalty. Jack, what was your thoughts on it?
Well, when I first saw him going in, I thought he did seem to put a lot of force into the tackle. But I've looked back at it again now, and I think he does get a little bit of the ball, so it is a bit of a stinger, like I say. And I think the referee was very, very quick to give them basically anything. I was at the game, and it really felt like he was just every 50-50 there. Crowd were making a bit of a noise, obviously partisan, and he was weak, I thought. I thought there was a few times he could have let the game flow, and he didn't. There was a situation in the second half whereby, I'm going off on a tangent a little bit here, but one of their fullbacks took three throw-ins within the space of about a minute or 2 minutes, and I think every one of them was a foul throw, and yet he was given little niggly things against us, and yet he wasn't picking up on it for them. So I'm not blaming the referee entirely, but he certainly didn't do Sunderland's cause any favours yesterday. So looking back, I thought the red was harsh, and I thought the penalty was a little bit harsh as well. So the big decisions, I thought he got wrong.
So was he a shithousing?
Well, yeah. Like I said, I thought he was just weak. One of those referees who just gives everything the home way, because the crowd make a bit of a noise and he's not strong enough to cope on the game on his own. Hides behind his whistle and gives them all the big decisions. And I mean, I honestly think he only gave the red card because their lad went down holding his face in like sort of 2 or 3 staggered movements, the way that he went down. It was reminiscent of some kind of WWE thing. One of the refs gets hit and he kind of goes down like holding his face and looking at the crowd and everything. It was ridiculous.
So Wayne, on to do with the penalty and the red card now. For me, I thought Embleton's leg was high up in the air, but I thought it was a really soft penalty, a really soft red card. I thought couldn't get his card out as soon as possible. And as soon as he saw Embleton was in pain, he put it back in his pocket for 5 minutes before he just, sent him off when he was on his stretcher. Like I said, I thought exactly what Jack says. He was weak as piss. He was absolutely awful. One of the worst referees I've seen so far this season. So, Wayne, to you, what was your thoughts on the 2 incidents?
Pretty much similar to what the 2 lads have said. I think, the red card, I think when you watch it in slow motion, I think the whole guy actually kind of jumps into Embleton a little bit. And I think that's kind of where his injuries came from, where he's jumped into him. But, like what Ian Wilkinson said there, Embleton's got the in him. He is liable to make a rash challenge now and again. But, did he need to go in and give the ref, give him the option to send him off? Could he have, eased off or used his head? I don't know. But it was harsh. Like I say, in real time, it did look a nasty one. But when it was slowed down, it was never a red card. It was just a coming together, really. They both came for the ball. The penalty, Ballard's gone steaming in there, but again, in real time, it looks a rash challenge, but in slow time, again, he gets the ball first. So it's 50-50 either way. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But like the referee was like you say, he was shite all game. But like what Jack was saying there, them 3 throw-ins at the end of the game there were terrible. Then I think after that he went and booed Gooch for time wasting about 30 seconds after. Absolutely crackers. So I was definitely a home ref, but them decisions, sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But both harsh in my opinion.
Yes, so Jacob, we have a comment on there on the chat to do with the penalty apparently.
Yes, Las Palmas Mackham Dawson on Sky Sports, who was covering our game for Gillette Soccer Saturday yesterday. According to Las Palmas Mackham, watched it a few times, said it was never a pen. And also Conrad Lee, our beloved editor, has jumped on the debate. I think it was a pen, that's just me. And also he's on about Ross Stewart yesterday. I thought Stewart was going to lob the keeper but mugged him off instead. That's what the Loch Ness Drogba does for you.
Before we get into the Loch Ness Drogba, let's talk about the Ellis Sims. I want Jack's opinion. Jack, bottom of your heart, what's your actual thoughts on Sims? Is he a out-and-out striker? Is he good enough for the Championship? Do we keep him for the full season or do we try and get somebody else?
Well, I can see why his style certainly winds up a lot of Sunderland supporters, because yesterday he just didn't look like he was in it, did he? And I think you really, with all due respect to Ellis Sims, you see the difference immediately when Ross Stewart comes on, don't you? Ross Stewart did more in sort of 20, 25 minutes that he was on the pitch than Ellis Sims did in the time he was on the pitch, an hour or whatever he was. So I think for Sunderland supporters, we can take players not being the most talented, but when a player looks like they're not putting a shift in, they're not grafting and they're not running, they're not willing to be physically strong and battle, Sunderland fans will never accept that, and I think that's sometimes, to me, that is what it comes across like with Ellis Sims. I do think sometimes he does get a little bit of unnecessary stick, but I can completely understand why our fans get frustrated watching him yesterday, because he just wasn't involved in the game. He didn't seem like he wanted to chase and be physical, and particularly when you're away from home in the Championship, you do have to play that role, whether you like it or not. If you're a tallish striker, and your team's, coming under pressure a little bit away from home, you have to have the ability to do that. Would I get rid of him? I wouldn't be against if we did get somebody else in, which is crucial. We'd have to get somebody else in first before we did send him back. But I wouldn't be against him, maybe moving back to going back to, it's Everton he's on loan from, isn't it, Ellis Sims? Going back, because I just don't think it might work. I mean, it all depends on whether or not another striker, which I'm sure we'll come on to, is going to stay beyond January as well, because we don't want to leave ourselves too short of options. But yeah, I can see why a lot of Sunderland fans do give him a bit of stick, because on yesterday's performance, he just wasn't in the game at all.
Do you think it's Tony Mowbray's going to actually sort of help Sims out a bit here, because he's going to play a lot better with Stewart alongside him? Will Mowbray actually play the two up front?
I think it all depends on the game, to be fair, Terry, because I think in games where you'd like Sunderland to dominate and have more of the ball, more often than not at home, against teams, then probably, but away from home, sometimes you're going to have to look at it and think, you know what I mean, are we better off, getting an extra midfielder in and just going with Ross Stewart up top? Because Ross Stewart would play that kind of target hold-up striker better than Ellis Sims. So, I think it all depends on the game. You know what I mean? You'd have to judge it on a case-by-case basis. I do get the point, though, that I think he does seem to play a little bit better when he doesn't have to play that role. Do you know what I mean? When he can play almost like, not the Nathan Broadhead role, but do you know what I mean? Like the second striker, whereas Ross Stewart's the one that's going to be the aerial physical threat, and then Ellis Sims is the one that can maybe drop off him and running behind. So, he doesn't have to do that role, because it's clear he's not comfortable, in my opinion, playing the Ross Stewart role, if you like.
I don't know whether it's just the style he has or whether it's just the way it comes across, but it just never looks like he's put the full shift in. And I thought against West Brom during the week, he was just non-existent. And the majority of the team was in the second half, but I just thought he was poor all round. I think he's been poor for 2 or 3 games now. As soon as Stewart can start a game of football, the better. Jacob, what's your take on Sims? Would you be happy if he just went back in January and we got somebody else in first, or would you want him for the full season?
It's difficult. I mean, he started like a house on fire. I remember going to Bristol that day, seeing his debut, and obviously banged in 2 that day. People thought, wow, we failed to get Nathan Broadhead back, but then again, we found the perfect replacement. But I do agree with you, Terry. The last few games, he has really struggled to make an impact. I thought yesterday in that game, you forgot he was on the pitch. At times, he did really struggle, to make a big impact on the game. I know our service wasn't the best at times until obviously Stewart came on because we added more creativity in behind. But yeah, I think Sims, you know, when he puts himself about and, you know, really, you know, uses his physicality against the opposition's backline, you know, he can make a difference. You know, he's not afraid to run in behind, and he's not afraid, obviously, to use his hold-up play to great effect. I remember the West Brom game, even though he may not have had the best of performances, he did do that. Was it brilliant flick that led to Pritchard's chance, which should have really been our second goal. So he has got those type of moves in his locker, but at the same time, it's not enough. And, you know, our strikers, you know, they should really be judged on scoring goals, and he's just been, you know, too inconsistent of late for me. But I do think it will be interesting to see, you know, now Stewart's back. There was a few games at the start of the season when them two played together up top, and it worked. You know, Sims was busting the guts, you know, to beat his marker, feeding off, you know, Stewart's hold-up play. And I think if them two are on the pitch together, we could see a completely different and more confident Ellis Sims going forward. But I do understand your point, Terry, the fact that he's only on loan, and, you know, we do need goals in the side considering, will Stewart be here beyond the end of January? Who knows? So, yeah, it is a debate that obviously a lot of people are bringing up right now, but I personally think he'll be here till the end of the season, Ellis Sims.
Next one. Wayne, what's your thoughts on Sims? Do you think he's a soft lad? Do you think he doesn't like to put himself about? Well, what's your thoughts on him? Is he just what about his first touch? Is his first touch good enough?
I think for the size of him, he doesn't use his physicality enough. You know, he's a big lad, and he is deceptively fast as well. But we know he can't play that lone striker role. You know, I've proved that it's time and time again since Stewart's been out. He can't do it on his own. He needs to be a part of it too. His inconsistency, that's the main. You know, sometimes his first touch is brilliant, then it'll bounce off him 2 or 3 times after that. So it's a tough one. But I think he is going to be with us till the end of the season. I can't see Everton recalling him, and I don't think we'll send him back purely because we need somebody up there. Whether Tony Mowbray is thinking of getting some extra reinforcement in January, I'm not too sure. But I just think he's deceptively, you know, he doesn't use his physicality like he should do, you know. But he's just a frustrating player. You know, he can have 1 or 2 brilliant games, then he guns missing for 3 or 4. So hopefully, like Jacob said, I think he does play better when Stewart's up top with him. So hopefully we can get, you know, Roscoe back on the pitch and we'll play 2 up front. But, you know, it's going to be a change in system. So, you know, who do you leave out?
So who was your man of the match yesterday then, Wayne?
I'd have probably gone for Luke O'Nien again. I thought he was man of the match against West Brom, and I thought he was yesterday as well. There was one in the first half, I think it was just before half time, when the ball got played. I think the Stewart behind was just going to knock it in, and he kind of hooked his foot round and cleared it. Great tackle, but I thought Ballard, you know, considering he'd been out for that amount of time as well, did really well for the full game. So between O'Nien and Ballard for me.
Right. So we wish Danny Bart and, like I said, Elliot Embleton all the best, and hopefully a speedy recovery. Hope Embleton's break isn't as bad as what the rumours are at the moment. Jack Shields, who was your man of the match yesterday?
I agree with Wayne. I thought O'Nien had a good game. I thought he was, you know, excellent as he always is. Doesn't put a foot wrong. I've been critical of him in the past, but, you know, I can't praise him enough. Recently, I think he's been solid, and I think if anything, the centre half partnership would probably be Ballard and Bath if we can. Obviously, I know Bath's going to be injured, so we'll have to wait and hear that. But I think there's an argument that do you keep Gooch as the right back, or do you put O'Nien into the right back position? Do you know what I mean? To make sure that he can play right back, because I thought Gooch was pretty poor yesterday. I didn't think he had a good game at all. But to be different, I'll give it to Ross Stewart, because I mean, I know he was shouting and singing from all game, and you could see, I think, not just him himself when he come on. I thought the rest of the team seemed to get a bit of a lift when he come on. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, here he is. He's the man. He's the saviour to a certain extent. Do you know what I mean? And now he's here. We're going to be a different team. And the goal he took, you know what I mean? He gets a sniff and sends the keeper for a hot dog and slots it in the net. You know what I mean? So it was really enjoyable to watch. It's just a shame it wasn't the winner. But yeah, I'll give it to Ross Stewart, and just fingers crossed he doesn't want to leave.
Yeah, I give it to Stewart as well personally, but I thought Luke O'Nien definitely had a good game. Jacob, yourself?
Yeah, Luke 09 for me, Terry. Solid as a rock at the back for us. Like, was it Wayne was saying, he did make that brilliant challenge where he just managed to get his foot round to the ball and just hooking it away before their forward player managed to, I think, get his shot off on the keeper. So, yeah, brilliant defensive performance. I think it's clear to see now, he's had probably up until this point more games playing as a defender in his career rather than a midfield player. I think Luke 09 for the considerable future. I think he is a defender now, and I think he's a very solid defender to have for this division. He always wears his heart on his sleeves, always puts in a great amount of effort. He's a fan's favourite, and all the Sunderland fans appreciate his effort. So, yeah, good performance yesterday. Luke 09, solid as a rock, my man of the match, mate.
Yeah, we're going to go on to Denny's comment next. Do you want to read up Denny's comment and the rest of them on the chat, please, Jacob?
Yeah, no worries. I'll go to Denny's in a sec, but it was with Susan Beaumont. Poor Embleton fracturing his fibula, according to Susan. I hope he is doing well, as can be expected. Poor lad. Denny McDonough, do you think Stewart will be sold next month? That will be a debate that we'll come to next. And Ian Wilkinson, Denny, I think Stewart is away. Only we will have money to buy other players. KLD, no different to Donald and Terry's mate, Salmon Pants. No comment from me on that front. But I'll leave it to you, Terry, to discuss, obviously, the Ross Stewart situation to kick things off.
Well, the Ross Stewart situation now, I've heard it from a good source, basically, that I think it was on Tuesday and Monday night, he wasn't happy with the performance of the team and the managerial decisions or whatever else is going on, but also that it's 70% probably going to be sold in the summertime rather than the January window, and hopefully be here for the rest of the season. I've got the impression he's going to be here for the rest of the season. But what's your thoughts, Jack, on the whole Ross Stewart thing? Do we give him extra money? Why is he not signing a contract? Do you think he'll be here for the rest of the season?
Do we give him more money? Absolutely. If it is a financial thing, I think it's a no-brainer that we break whatever structure we need to keep Ross Stewart at the football club, because you saw yesterday probably isn't even 100% match fit, and what the difference he makes to our side. Do you know what I mean? He's your target man. He's the one you pin your hopes on. He's your goal scorer. He's your chasing striker. He plays 3 or 4 roles all in one. You know what I mean? He's the kind of talismanic figure up front, and you can't put a price on it. So if it is financial and it's purely down to the money, the actual wage that he's getting, pay the bloke what he wants, because we've seen situations before whereby we've let good key players move on to clubs. You could even argue the manager, which I'll come on to in a second, that we had earlier in the summer, leaving because the club isn't going down the direction that we want. And I think if Ross Stewart does go, whether it's in the summer or January, and it's to what we would class as like a sideways step, someone who's probably maybe not a big as club as Sunderland in our league, similar standing to us. If he does leave and go there, then that's a bit more of a problem, because that would be twice in one season, wouldn't it? Alex Neil went to Stoke, and now Ross Stewart would be leaving for the same reasons. And I think if it's an isolated incident, you can say, well, it's down to that one person. But when 2 big key figures leave your club, I think it's a bit more worrying as to what direction we're going down behind the scenes, if you know what I mean. Because why is more not being done to make sure that key figures within our club are staying at the club? So I personally saw him yesterday, and he didn't go over to the fans. He sort of clapped, but then it was like he didn't want to be near the fans a little bit. And I was like, I didn't like it. It looked to me like it was like, I can't describe what I mean, but he wasn't fully, emotional with the fans, if you know what I mean. It was kind of, he was keeping his distance a little bit, which told me, I thought, that looks like he's not 100% happy. And the rumours I've heard that, he's off in January, so it might be different to what you've been told, Terry. But I think whatever it is he wants, if it is financial, if it's more promises about recruitment or whatever, give it to him, because he's so important to us that we can't put a price on what he's worth.
I mean, I think Tony Mowbray said something about the model of the club is to buy young players and to sort of, rough them up and sell them for more money, which is clearly not going to work if we want to sort of improve the the club and the team full stop, because we are going to lose our best players eventually, and we're going to end up being just a club stuck in the championship, at best. So for me, like I say, I hope Ross Stewart stays, but I get what you're saying. I've also had lots of rumours and solid rumours from people saying that he's gone in January to either Blackburn or Middlesbrough. Now, Wayne, what's your thoughts on the whole thing? And if he goes to Blackburn and Middlesbrough, this has got to be a massive disappointment from the ownership.
I like what Jack's just been saying there. I mean, if he does want to leave, if it's a Premier League team or a team like Rangers or Celtic coming from, then fair enough. He's going to want to progress, and fair play to the lad. But like you said, the rumours coming out is that Middlesbrough's been strongly linked with him, like we've been saying. And if he does go to another Championship team, then it is, on Dravis's head. I think, if it is financial, pay him what he wants, keep him. But I think, like what Jack was saying there about the fans as well, I think he's interviewed after the game yesterday, and again he didn't seem very enthusiastic. He just said he's welcome to be back to help this team. Just his phrase of words didn't come across and didn't sit right. So me personally, I think it'll be a way, because in January, we know teams pay a lot more money for players. So if somebody comes in with a silly offer, whether it be Championship or not, I think Dravis will probably take it, which I think, he's going to get a lot of stick if that's the case.
Wayne, what is a silly offer?
Well, if somebody comes in with a 15, 20 million pound bid, then going to be offering, how much is he worth?
How much do you think he's worth?
Well, at the minute, he's irreplaceable at the minute. You kind of put from where we're concerned, you kind of put a price on it, because he's invaluable to us. We lose him, we are stuffed. Who are we going to get to replace him? Who's out there like him, who plays like he does? And like Jack's been saying, he's our talismanic figure up front. So I just think he's invaluable to us. I can't really put a price on him. Just need to pay him what he wants and keep him here. But I mean, go on.
Sorry, keep going.
I'm saying, is there a clause in his contract that they can activate it for another year? Is that right? From what I can see, but like I say, if somebody comes in with a massive offer, I think he'd be off. But I just, like I said, if he goes to a Premier League team or up in Scotland where he might have a chance of playing European football next year, then fair play to him. But if it's another Championship team, I'd be very, very, very disappointed. Like,
before you answer this question, Jacob, go back to the chat in a second. But if there is this clause, what does that actually mean? Contracts can be broken at any time. Does that actually mean anything? Does that mean he has to stay for the full season? What does that mean, Jacob? Do you know?
I don't know. It could mean various things, to be honest. It could be, add-on fees if he gets a certain amount of goals, where value increases and we have to sell him for a fixed amount, or it could be a clause added in his contract when we signed him from Ross County back in January 2021. Who knows? Only the club will know the full answer to that. But going by what the comments are saying here tonight about Stewart, I sort of agree, to be honest. Even though it may come across as like, oh, well, do you think you're bigger than the club? That sort of thing. It's the way how football is now, to be honest. You go everything full out, to keep your best assets at a football club. And if that's to offer more money, you simply do it, and he's so valuable to the club now. But yeah, what Jack was saying, could his heart not be fully in it right now? Maybe it's because the contract that we did offer him, he probably thinks that that's an offence, to how much quality he can offer. And, do we see him being part of a long-term future here? Well, clearly, obviously, with what Jack's just said, he might think otherwise. But hopefully, I think Sunderland fans right now would just hope that it's not a repeat of the Madger situation from 2019, and we finally keep a player, a top player who can score goals for the full season rather than half.
Do you want to go to the chat, Jacob?
Yep, I will indeed. Glenn Jones, does this prove there is no ambition in this club? DJ Sizzler Watson, hi lads, didn't know we were back on. Why was there no notification on the WhatsApp group? We'll come back to you on that, DJ Sizzler Watson. Conrad Lee stops him leaving on a free in the summer, meaning we have full back option of selling him in summer instead of walking away. Ian Wilkinson, spot on, Jack. Kyle Don, Ross Stewart is the best on earth. Well, we can all agree with that one, mate.
Like, in my opinion, we should build the team around Ross Stewart. We should give him the money he wants. If he takes a sidestep and goes to Middlesbrough, what can Middlesbrough offer Ross Stewart that we cannot, apart from money? For me, there's nothing at all there that he has. Blackburn, they're in the top 3, possibly going for promotion this season. That can maybe entice him to go there to get in the Premier League next season. But for me, if he goes to Middlesbrough, then I think the owners should just sell up and go. Simple as, because if this is all they're going to bring to the club, is just no ambition whatsoever, then we should maybe get an owner in who actually has some ambition. Maybe I'm being too greedy, I don't know, maybe I'm being wrong. Do you think the same, Jack? What's your thoughts on the ownership if he goes to Middlesbrough just because of money?
Yeah, I think it would raise alarm bells for me. The alarm bells would be ringing if Ross Stewart did go to a similar sized club. A similar club with position in terms of championship. I mean, as Wayne's touched on, if it's Celtic or Rangers, I can understand the big clubs in Scotland. He might want to go back at home. They're in European competition. He might, have a chance of, becoming the main Scotland striker, which might interest him. So I can understand that. If the Premier League team struggling in the bottom 6, I can understand that as well, because the Premier League, whether you like it or lump it, in terms of size of the clubs, you can argue, but we are a championship club. We're a decent sized championship club, but it might be a smaller club. But if they're in the Premier League, they've got the pull of the Premier League, so that's going to interest them. But if it was a Middlesbrough or a Stoke or somebody of that nature, then that would be a bit of a concern. Well, not just a bit of a concern. It would be a big concern, because it would raise questions. And I mean, if it was somebody that's not as valuable to us, that was another team was interested in, just for argument's sake, I can't think of a player, but you know what I mean? Maybe a younger lad that's come through. Or even Anthony Patterson, don't get me wrong, I don't want to get rid of him. Really good keeper. But if somebody came in with a big offer, I could sort of understand him, going. But because we could get another goalkeeper. Now, people say, you want to keep him, but we couldn't find it easy to get a replacement. Ross Stewart, he is irreplaceable to a certain extent with us. So if it's just purely financial that he moves for, then that is a massive concern. And in terms of the ownership now, I get the model that they're trying to go down: buy young, improve, sell them on. That can work the trade for you. But somebody as important as Ross Stewart, you shouldn't be selling them. The only thing is, if he wants to go, and if he does want to go, you need to look at the reasons why. Because if it's similar reasons to Alex Neil, as I say, that's 2 key figures in your club. They've left in the same season. That's a big concern for my.
Well, for me, it's like short-sightedness, because you see a big figure come in for Ross Stewart, and then you're going to have to pay a big anyway, because the clubs are going to hold you to ransom for other strikers, because they know that you're desperate for a striker, and they know you've got the money off Ross Stewart. So you're going to get nobody near as good. So you're going to have to take a risk on a player way down in League One or League Two, who's got a bit of youngster who can come through. And you're thinking to yourself, wait, if this doesn't work out, you could just fall down the trapdoor straight away. If you're not going to get the goals or score goals, you could be in trouble. Wayne, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, like we've just been saying there, you're on about Middlesbrough might not be a better proposition, but come January, you might find like some Middlesbrough spend money in January where it looks like we're not going to. So, they might invest money to try and kick on and get into the playoffs towards the top of the league. And if he's getting wind of that we're not going to invest in January, that might be another reason why he's pissed off and wants to be away. And if that's going to be the case, and based on this model, then again, it falls back on the owners. Yes, the model is good in principle, but we are doing well. And if we are up and around the playoff picture in January, we should be investing to try and kick on again, not just, sell your best player.
Jacob?
I was going to ask a question to you three. In terms of the January transfer window, how much money do you think we actually have available to spend next month?
Well, Dreyfus was on, I think, the Unfiltered podcast, I think it was on last week, and reading between the lines, he's not going to spend very much money, because he kind of said the money what we've already spent feels the squad now is quite big enough. We've only got to target certain areas. So reading between the lines, not very much at all.
Now,
I think. Sorry, I was just going to say. I think the money that we've got to spend is probably whatever we sell Ross Stewart for. To be fair, I think that'll be the money.
Right.
At the minute, we're zero. If we do sell Ross Stewart and we get 8 million, 10 million, whatever it is, I think that'll be the pot. They'll say, well, look, if you want, Tony Mowbray might say, I want to strengthen in January. and then you've got a situation where Ross Stewart probably wants to be away. The owners will probably say, well, look, you want some money to spend, get a good deal for Ross Stewart and spend whatever you've got. But other than that, you're getting nothing. So that might be our transfer pot.
Jack, is it yes or no? Is he going or staying?
I think he's going. I hope I'm wrong, but I think he's going in January. I think he's off. Where he goes, you could. No, that's a different debate, but I think he's gone in January. I hope I'm wrong, but I think he's off.
Wayne?
I think he's gone as well. Like I say, just looking like what Jack was yesterday at the fans and his interview afterwards, and I just think the fact that he hasn't signed the contract before now, I think he's gone.
Jacob?
I've still got faith he'll be here till the end of the season, but I think he'll definitely be away next summer.
Yeah, I think he'll be gone in the summertime personally, but I mean, you don't know. Hopefully he'll stay. Touch wood. Now, a position I think we weak in, and Jack's already alluded onto it. We'll go to Jack straight away first. Is Gooch's right back. Now we've got Trey Hume and we've also got Huggins. Do we go out and buy a proper right back because we need to start playing players in the right positions, and we need to get square pegs and square holes, and the right back position for me is one of the weakest positions on the pitch. Jack, what do we do with that?
We've done it for quite a while, though, haven't we? Over the last sort of 10 or 12 years, we seem to find like a midfielder and stick him into right back and shoehorn him in. I like Huggins, but I don't know what his fitness is like. He never seems to. I mean, he's been here a couple of years, hasn't he, Huggins? Now we haven't really seen much of him. I think he's only played a handful of games. So is that going to be a concern? Can you pin your hopes on him? Probably not. So yeah, I wouldn't be against going and getting a proper out and out right back. Who that would be and how much you spend, that's an entirely different scenario. Or you're going to be left at, you're looking at the minute, the way O'Nine's playing at the minute, he probably gets in ahead of Gooch at right back, but then it's contradicting what I'm saying, because he technically O'Nine is a centre back, is he, or a centre half, centre midfielder? So then you're sort of playing somebody out of position again. But yeah, I would definitely look to see if I can get somebody in, because I don't think you're going to be able to rely on Huggins. From what I've seen, his fitness. We've only had a couple of games out of him over the last couple of years, and Try Hume's a bit of a funny one again. He hasn't massively impressed us when he's come in, so I wouldn't be against maybe looking at getting somebody else in. I agree.
Well, we got Hume for peanuts, didn't we, from Lingfield in Ireland or something? So should Hume now go down on loan, Jacob?
Ooh. Sorry, just repeat the question there, Terry.
I'm saying we got Trey Hume for peanuts, I think, from Lingfield in Ireland. Does Trey Hume now go out on loan for the rest of the season if he can't get in? Because obviously Huggins is always injured. Do we get another right back in to replace Gooch? What happens to Trey Hume?
Yeah, it's a difficult. Trey Hume, he has got, skills in his locker to be, an established championship player, and be a solid player for us. I remember that night at Birmingham away, and also Huggins played that night as well. I thought he was very good, but you're only going to really get the best out of players like Trey Hume if you play them consistently, which I think, we may see him go out on loan personally at the end of the season, and I think we may end up selling him next summer, which obviously it's not. He came with a lot of pedigree. I think he was signed based on decent scout reports when we went over to go and watch him. Was it play for his club in Ireland? And yeah, it's not quite worked out for him probably as well as he would have liked. But yeah, I still think on his day he was a decent player for us, but I think we do need someone with a little bit more experience of this division in the position he plays in.
Wayne, do you think Tony Mowbray just doesn't like Huggins and Hume? He thinks they're not good enough. That's why he's brought Leslie back, and he's got Gooch in there. Does he think they're just not ready at this moment in time after the good performance when we played against Birmingham?
I think it must be. I think the same can be said about, like we've already touched on, about Bailey Wright. Does he just not fancy them? Trey Hume's never really had a run in the team. He's played 1 and 2 games and he's straight out as soon as Gooch is fit or come back. So I just think you need to give him a chance. Huggins, every time he's played, he's impressed me. But like we've already said, it's his fitness. He just kind of seemed to string a run of games together. But I think obviously Tony Mowbray just doesn't fancy them. But I think a lot will depend as well on which way. Now we've got all our players back. What kind of system is Tony Mowbray going to play? Is he going to go back to 3 at the back, where we're going to wing backs? In that case, you look at a different type of player, because Gooch seems to be his favourite, whether right back or a wing back. But I'd like to see us still going by a proper right back if Huggins and Hume are not going to be given the chance. I mean,
Like a more experienced, more of an aged right back, you think?
I mean, Gooch, he gives 100% he tries, but he's not a right back. And yesterday, I was impressed with their left winger, that Ryan Longman. He had a good game yesterday, and he had Gooch on toast for most of the game. He does get caught out, so I think it's time now where we need to be playing players in the proper positions.
All right, totally right. So before we move into the last 5 minutes of the chat, if you are enjoying this live stream, please give us a thumbs up. Let's try and get close to 100 as much as possible. And the next question, basically, Jacob, Tony Mowbray is a bit of a yes man, obviously. He's come in, he's doing the job. Would you want him here next season if we finished mid-table this season?
Yeah, I mean, I still think he's got, a bit more to prove. I think he came in at a difficult time. I think you can't really judge him unless, he gets the first 2 transfer windows under his belt and we see what players he can bring in. But then again, it comes back to the debate. What will he have available funds-wise to improve the squad? He could potentially be unhappy about that.
Do you think he'll have any say in the transfers? Is this all Christian Speakman?
Difficult one. That could be a reason why Neil left. Who knows? But then again, I'm not sure whether the main reason he came was, or one of the main reasons he came is, I think he might have worked under a director of football before when he was at Blackburn. So I think he's used to being that type. I think the title is now head coach rather than manager, where you don't have a full say on the players that come in through the door. It's just your job as a head coach to improve them quality wise. So yeah, I think, I'm happy Mowbray, he'll be here. Obviously, listen, if you offer me mid-table at the start of the season, I would have taken it, considering we've just come up from League One. But yeah, I think it's the wrong sort of time to be judging Tony Mowbray.
Back to the chat, please, Jacob.
Right, on the chat, Ian Wilkinson, KOD, has the club. Said the club is not ready to go up and they don't want to go up. Stewart would want to play in the Prem. Ian Wilkinson has also said give Hume and Huggins a chance. If they are not good enough, get rid. Northern voice, Gooch is absolutely, I'm not going to repeat what you said there. That's obviously your opinion. Comrade Lee, back in League One, Donald was on about protecting ourselves from the Madger like situation again. So sticking, add one in contracts that we can activate extra years. Stops him. Comrades also said stops him leaving on a free in summer, meaning we have full backup option of selling him in summer instead of walking away.
Right. So Jacob, you've answered my last question already. So I'm going to move on to Jack now. Jack, Tony Mowbray, are you happy with him at this moment in time? Would you like to see him here this next season? And going into Christmas Day, we're in 12th place. My prediction at the beginning of the season was to finish 12th place. So clearly I kind of complain. But what's your thoughts on the season so far? Are you happy with 12th place? And are you happy with Mowbray?
I wouldn't say I'm happy. I would say I'm satisfied. I know it's not really much of an answer. At the minute, I'm okay with him. I wouldn't say he's a manager I get passionate about. I don't think he's a manager that we're going to have here 3-5 years and he's going to build something to take us up the Premier League. I don't think he's that type of manager. I think he is, in essence, a stopgap manager. We were left in the lurch when Alex Neil left early in the season, weren't we? He left sort of late August, early September. Don't know if the window was shut or not, but we were scrambling around for players and really didn't have a plan. Tony Mowbray, I think, knows the sport. He knows the sporting director. I think I might be wrong on that one, and he has worked under that model before with a head coach and the director of football, and he knew he'd do the job. So at the minute, I'm satisfied. I think mid-table is where we're going to be this season. It could be anywhere from 8th to 15th, I think, depending on how well we do for the rest of the season. And yeah, you've got to get things into perspective. I know we all want to be back in the Premier League and challenging the top half of the league and, challenging, for the top positions. But I don't think we're quite ready there as a club and as a squad yet. So I think I'm satisfied with where we are. However, having said that, if we're still in this position next year, I'll be a bit more disappointed because I think you should have made some progression by there. So if in a year's time we're still in exactly the same position, I will maybe think about looking elsewhere. But for now, I'm satisfied. I think he's had a rough ride with injuries and the results they're okay for what we need. So I wouldn't be jumping into any decisions yet.
Yeah, when I predicted 12th place at the start of the season, I kind of knew what we were going to be doing with the season, as in buying younger players and sort of improving season on season. I thought, well, if we can survive the championship with the squad we had at the start of the season, then maybe we'll have a better season next season. I'm happy. I think, you get those games where you're just not happy and you get upset with referees and decisions by different people and the way the team performs. Sometimes they kind of hit you, miss you. Some games they have fantastic 45 minutes and have good games, and other games they don't. So I mean, everyone's human. So a lot of youngster players probably need more experienced players to play alongside these youngsters. So Wayne, what's your thoughts on Mowbray and how you're happy with the position at Christmas time and 12th place?
I think if Ed said we'd be 12th, before the season started halfway, you'd have probably snapped everybody's hand off. I think, he was brought in to kind of stabilise the situation after Alex Neil had gone, so he's done that. Like we've already been touching, he's had a rough ride with injuries. If Stewart had still been in the team, would we have been higher up? The frustrating thing for me is, we've now played every team in the league, and probably with the exception of probably Burnley, who trounced us, for 45 minutes, we haven't really been outplayed by anybody. So I think just with a few more experienced players and a bit more quality, there's no reason why we cannot have a good second half of the season. But again, I'm happy with 12th. I'd have set off that before the season. But Mowbray, he's not the most exciting man, but for now, he's doing the job. He's keeping us stable. And if he keeps in the league, I'll be happy this season.
Thank you. Jacob, back to chat one more last time.
Will do. Ian Wilkinson believes Hume has done nothing wrong. Aidan Hyder, Stewart isn't going. He's also said, I'd keep Mowbray for a couple of seasons for stability, then get a more ambitious manager. And Susan Bymort, Aidan, yes, stability is the key word. Back to you, Terry.
Yep, well, I hope everybody's enjoyed the live stream tonight. We're moving on to the next game after Christmas against Blackburn. So the quick score prediction, Jack?
I think I'd love to say we're going to win, but they're doing pretty well. So I'll sit on the fence and say I think it's going to be a draw. I think we'll get another 1-1.
Yeah, Blackburn beat Norwich yesterday away. Wayne, score prediction?
I think it's going to be a tough game. I never like to see us get beat, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Jacob, will Tony not rise the players up to the challenge against his old side, Blackburn?
That's what I hope, and I hope Blackburn, the atmosphere at the stadium of always can be an intimidating place for an opposition player. So I hope we use that to our advantage. And you know what? I'll say a 2-1 win for Sunderland.
Yeah, Boxing Day, massive crowd, 2-1 win for me too. But like I say, I always go with me heart. Thank you everybody for being on the chat tonight. Jacob, do you want to say goodbye?
See you later, everyone. And as I always say on the Sunday Bunch at the end of each show, keep the faith.
Wayne, thanks for coming on the channel tonight yourself.
Yep. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you after the Boxing Day game, probably. So have a good one.
And the same from Jack.
Yes, happy Christmas to everyone. Hope everyone's healthy and has a nice Christmas with the family and gets what they're after for Santi and see you all later, lads and lasses.
Exactly. Thanks everyone for coming to the live chat tonight. Thanks for watching the video itself, and I hope you all have a fantastic Christmas. Don't eat too many mince pies. Don't drink too many dodgy whiskies out there, some waskies as they call it, and stay away. Be merry if you want, and hopefully we'll see you on Boxing Day or after Boxing Day at some point, another time on SAFC Fan TV. Take care, everybody. Don't forget to hit the likes and subscribe. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.